Hello, my name is Frances Fox. Um, I'm a trained psychic, trained in remote viewing, trained in interspecies communication, which is beyond being a pet psychic. Um, I just completed a move. I'm very happy in my new place. I'm very connected to nature. One of the things that had me decide very quickly was that next door there's a turtle, and on the other side there was a squirrel that was sunning himself on top of the fence, very relaxed. Turtle is the most revered of all of the animal totems in the Mayan calendar and their belief system. And squirrel means get ready. So I'm getting ready for big times. Meanwhile, back at the farm, I sketched the United States yesterday, and you'll excuse me, but I'm still organizing things, so everything is not quite where it needs to be. But let me show you what I sketched yesterday in the United States, which basically we feel we have taken care of. That is an awful lot of black magic, particularly on Florida, particularly on Texas. We already know Florida, Trump, Texas, Tesla, Elon Musk. Now, I have to tell you that human beings do black magic. It's been part of almost every culture. In modern America, I think that really that belief that that actually works is not real strong, which is a very big problem. After the last elections, astrologers around the world were almost in a panic because everybody had seen astrologically that Trump was going to win. I had calls from 3 astrologers and said, Frances, do me a favor, and would you check how could I have been wrong? I don't get it. Well, they weren't wrong, but they were looking at one influence. They were looking at the planets, what I never studied astrology. What is studied in astrology? Planets. And the planets all said that Trump was going to win. You can ask around. This is not just a few people. And it's not like I know that many astrologers, but it was something that was shocking because it was so obvious that he was going to win. So, what I tell my followers, and I don't say it often enough, there are 2 things that can block you from getting what the planets are providing you with. One is a huge trauma in your life, generally childhood, and that trauma opened the door, and you have a huge spirit that's controlling you that doesn't have that astrological sign and is not influenced by those energies and has more power and control and influence over you than the planets. That's one of the 2 things that can stop you from benefiting from the great stuff that's on your astrological chart. And a lot of people say that I don't believe in astrology because all the good stuff never comes true. Well, that means that you're blocked. And I can say that that was my case for a couple of decades. Okay, so what is the second thing that can block you from benefiting from what the planets are sending you? Black magic. So, in terms of astrology, Trump was supposed to win, but he didn't. So there was an interference. And we can all say that it was an election interference and the ballots and all the rest of that. And that's probably the case because that appears to be the case with everything that's coming out in terms of proof, but that's not where I'm going. I'm going in terms of invisible factors. So here's another thing that I don't tell people, but that everybody's going to know soon enough. The fact that there's black magic doesn't mean that it was a human being that did it. In the first place, when you do powerful black magic, so I'll explain it to you now. When I started working with the public in the 90s, I was working mainly with children. because I said to people, I really want to take care of people that have problems that the medical sciences is not able to deal with. They don't know what to do with it. And I ended up getting mainly children, which was interesting because I don't really like to take care of sick kids because I'm a cancer and it hurts too much. It hurts me too much. I prefer not to see it. Anyway, but I did end up taking care of 50 autistic kids and Down syndrome and the rest of that. And I had also a lot of private clients, Hispanic, and all of them that were well to do, I would say almost without exception. When I was taking care of them and reading for them, I read that they had black magic. The trick was I really didn't believe in black magic then. So I was reading something because of how intense my training was to not allow my belief system to interfere. I was reading what I was seeing, but I was really struggling with it because I didn't believe it. Anyway, with one particular client where the black magic was extreme in terms of the consequences in his life, I finally one day I said, you know what, I need to understand this. Okay, so I was wrong. So it does exist, and you don't have to believe in it for it to affect. I need to understand it. So I asked my masters. I said, explain this to me. How do they do this? How's that done? By the way, thanks for the compliments, especially those of you that speak English, because I am doing this in English, particularly to be able to appeal to people that don't speak Spanish, because I do plenty in Spanish. So thank you for the compliment. So I said, I want to understand. Show me, teach me. And what they showed me was that the black magician would do his ritual. I never look at the rituals. Too many of them include killing animals. And I don't need to look at it. They do the ritual. And what they do is they call on spirits that are off planet to come in. They give them permission to enter this planet. That's no longer applicable because now you don't need permission. Planet Earth is open to everybody, doesn't matter what galaxy. And that spirit, the ritual would open up a channel, and that spirit there would be an exchange. The exchange was they were able to come into planet Earth, and the exchange was that spirit, an alien, the aliens are spirits, they don't have physical bodies, they're spirits, would be what made the black magic happen, sometimes for decades and sometimes for hundreds of years if it's an ancestral curse. And those are in the Bible. So I'm not going to ask, but we don't know where this comes from, because the bad spirits want us to be off base, hysterical, fighting with each other and killing each other. We don't know that these are the enemies of Trump and Elon. These could just be spirits that are the enemies, but that don't have human bodies. Anyway, we're working on this. And I promised that tonight I would sketch it again and we would see how far we got in terms of clearing this. I'm going to remind you, and I've said this before, the only people that I know that their prayers include praying for protection and also to purify aliens are Buddhists, is Buddhism. The only rituals I've seen, the only rituals I know, it's Buddhism. All of their prayers include beings that are from off planet. They also include the Nagas, which I think unfortunately have been identified as reptilian by people that don't have a wide enough lens. And they are always working with the Nagas, which are they used to be dinosaurs, snakes, it's the reptiles. But they're not bad. They're actually really good. They're the original owners of the planet. So when you get something like this, the issue is to clear it. And the interesting question might be, not really, whether those are human beings that asked for there to take down these two people plus the entire country. It wasn't just Texas and Florida that is mainly hit, it's the entire country. Okay. You can ask if they were alien spirits or local spirits, like local as in this planet? And who initiated that request? Was it human beings that are working with them, or were these the spirits? When we work with the United States and also with Venezuela and Mexico and other countries, a lot of times when we hit critical mass in the work that we're doing to purify the energy of fire so that there won't be violence in that country, a lot of times spaceships show up. And the first time was in Venezuela in 2018 when we were working on a big portal that they had in the south of Venezuela, and there were black spaceships that showed up. Real obvious, these are not the good guys. And then pink spaceships showed up. Now, are those spaceships really pink? No, they're not really pink. That they show up as pink so that we can understand that those are the good guys. So then I'm going to do my ADD thing and tell you another story that will kind of help you to understand this concept of shape shifting. I was having a massage session, and all of a sudden, I could see all this white light around me. I was like, wow. I didn't say anything. And the person that was giving me the massage was right here in front of me. And she went like this with her face. And I went, what? And she went, and then she finished the massage. And at the end, I said, why did you make that face? What? And she said, I saw an angel over you. It was beautiful. She said, didn't you see it? I said, no, I didn't see an angel. I saw white light. Now, why would that be? At that time, I didn't really believe in angels. They're not my thing anyway, because I'm dolphin consciousness, but they definitely exist, and I've definitely seen them. At that time, I could not say that I believed in them. She saw what she could understand, and I saw what I could understand. So the spaceships show up, and we see them in a way that we can understand. And if you can get that, if you can deal with that, then a lot of the battle over do they exist, don't they exist, and why this and why that, you'll understand it. You're going to get it presented in a way that you can take it in, such as the two women in Russia in different cities with different languages. They were doing an experiment on telepathy. I know I've told you this before. Each one had a different language, and they spoke to each other telepathically, but each one heard in the language that they understood. So, isn't that neat? That must be a huge computer. I don't know how they do that, but that is the way it is. So, we will be dealing with this, but obviously I'm going to say that somebody must think that Elon Musk and Trump and the country is going in a direction they don't want it to go in, and the people that are thinking this are not nice people. Because when you do black magic, you're really a hypocrite and you're a bully. And I'm going to say it, and I can't stand you, because that has controlled my life. My life, this behind the scenes activities that really, really work. And all the ancient civilizations that we respected, we just wish that we could know how it is that they do that stuff. They all knew about this. We're the people that don't know about it. Why don't we know about it? Because that knowledge has been disrespected. And I think it's been disrespected very specifically to keep modern public vulnerable to it. And I tell all my clients, my big clients, well, because my regular clients already know that. The people that follow me on my chats and everything, they already know it because we talk about it a lot. But I tell all of my big clients, listen, when things get weird, and you don't have an answer and you just don't understand what's going on, and you've called the proper people and you've done your due diligence in the whole 9 yards, and there's still, this is weird, then you need to look into whether somebody did some black magic. I've been dealing now with a situation I haven't been able to get out a newsletter. I'm working with a company called Active Campaign. I'm not very pleased with them. They're not very friendly. But it got so bad that the other day I told the girl that does my social media, it's almost like the devil got involved in this. This is ridiculous. How can we ask them 10 times how much more we have to pay them in order to get out the number, because we got a lot of new followers, we can't get an answer from them. It's like it's almost like that game where you have the three little cups and you have two shells underneath, and which except I'm trying to pay them. So I said to my assistant, I said, you know what? Maybe somebody did black magic because just none of this makes any sense. Somebody that I had fired who was doing my newsletters on my website did black magic. He was angry at me for firing him because he was from another country. He was earning a ton of money having to do with what I was paying him in that country, and he wasn't happy. Believe me, I had more than enough reasons to let him go. By every Wednesday, he would say, we need to have everything done now because I won't be back till Monday afternoon. Well, in social media, you don't do that. My horoscopes are on Monday. So you've got to be totally operational Sunday night, Monday morning. He wasn't going to be back. He was off visiting his mother, he said, but we think he had a lover or something. Whatever. So he had no reason to do that. He was just very angry at me. And I've been spending months struggling with this thing that's kind of weird. And I didn't follow my own rule, which if something's like really weird and you've done everything to try to fix it and you're not able to, you need to consider black magic. Anyway, somebody's doing a lot of black magic here. Now I'm going to tell you about another thing, and it scares me a little bit because we might be touching that theme of sex trafficking. I mean, I think all of you know that I was sex trafficked as a child, as a young adult. Some of the people are still around, contrary to what Kennedy says. Some of those people are still around. So the other day when I'm working with a big group, and we're working on United States, Venezuela, and Mexico, which I know you don't know why they would be related, but they are, having to do with stabilizing this part of the world. Okay. And I sketched that there was a new fault line that came from the United States and extended into Mexico. So we started working on it. And normally we work with gold thread and we plant trees to stabilize the area and we cool it down. We weren't getting any place. We were getting like no place. I had some optimistic people in the chat that would say, oh, it's closing up. This is working. And I said, it's not working. It's not happening. It turns out that in that fault line started in the United States, extends into Mexico. What is in there that is creating the fault line is something extremely toxic, which is exactly the same thing that was in the portal in the south of Venezuela, which were souls that died in horrible ways and had not gone to the light. Like saying, don't build a house there because that's an Indian burial ground. Well, an Indian burial ground is okay compared to thousands, I don't know, souls that died horribly, because those Indians in the Indian burial ground did not die horribly. They all had nice ceremonies. And we have not finished helping to escort these souls to the light. But it took us 3 sessions to figure out that we weren't working, we weren't getting to the point, we weren't getting to what it was that was creating this. And so we will be back tonight and tomorrow night until we finish clearing this, which means escorting these souls out of there, because a soul that's in anguish and angry and all the rest of that creates, which, those images from the Middle Ages of the apocalypse, where it's all red and blood and the devil is there and people are crying and screaming and their body parts, people are killing. That kind of energy is what is in that this is a new fault line. I think I didn't say that. That's the kind of energy that opened that new fault line. And if that new fault line is not taken care of, and we will take care of it, it would have initiated a process that would have equaled those scenes of the apocalypse. Pretty dramatic. We're not going to get any awards for doing this work. Half the people I talk to don't believe it. That's okay. You got the information. But I think it has to do with sex trafficking. Handlers, back off. I'm not saying another word. If I'm getting too close to something I shouldn't be talking about, that's the maximum I'm going to say about it. Okay? Just back off. So, the whole issue of spirits, the whole issue of how people die, the issue of most people not being able to tell if their loved one went to the light, or whether they're so miserable or that pain in their left shoulder doesn't go away, or they can't get out of that deep depression and they don't know that it's that loved one that's hanging around them. In Buddhism, they know that your moment of death, the state of your consciousness, your moment of death, is your state of consciousness in the other dimensions when you wake up. So if you don't, they don't take you up there that way. You can't, you're lost. But your spirit is traumatized. And if you get enough of them, you get a portal because it's all toxic. So I got off on not that tangent. I'm giving you the information about what's going on. In terms of Venezuela, in case you're interested, Venezuela looks really good. Venezuela has a problem, and most people are not aware of this. Venezuela had an election. It apparently ran well, and a new group won, which means the dictatorship is over. Everything hunky-dory. And the other day we got this silly group saying, we got to invade. I'm not sure why you have to invade. They had a democratic election. The people that are more democratic and are not dictators and they're not military won, very obviously. Here's the trick. Changeover of power isn't until January. So when I look at Venezuela, what I'm looking at is a land, a nation full of people that are extremely nervous and have lost faith because they've been under a dictatorship without enough air conditioning, internet, food for 25 years. So they have trauma. And there we go again. Trauma. What happens when there's trauma? People start to demand things, they start to do things. And so what we're working on with that group, Venezuela, is a big group, is working with the trauma, doing mantras to deprogram the trauma. And we started yesterday, which you already know about, telling them that they need to plan. And they need to plan what they're going to do once they're able to travel, start new businesses, and they need to do a visualization of after the changeover is handed over to the duly elected people. When the government is actually handed over, they need to do a visualization now about them after that, calling somebody on the phone and saying, isn't it incredible how peaceful and prosperous it's been since the elections? Because that's the way reality is created. So the only other thing that I can say is that when we sketch Venezuela, see all those squiggly lines that are vertical? That's earth movement. The United States and Mexico had a lot of squiggly lines, not now. For 2 or 3 weeks, I sketched them. You saw them. And then we had this big portal open. I don't know what's going to happen here, but the earth is definitely doing weird things. And if you're on X enough, you'll already know that. So I noticed that I've talked for 24 minutes. And as usual, I haven't touched the subject, stability in the midst of chaos. So we're going to go back to Venezuela and say that for Venezuela to be stable and for crazy things not to start to happen that will tempt bigger countries to try to invade, to impose peace and democracy, that the people in Venezuela need to get a grip and purify the trauma of the 25 years of dictatorship. And they can do that. You do a mantra. Please, God, help us with our intention to miraculously purify the trauma of the 25 years of dictatorship, or the 25 years of the past 25 years. And it works, especially if you get enough people to do it. It absolutely does work. So we are working on that, but consider that the next time that you have a problem. I'm not sure that we have gotten over the trauma of the last election. So we're moving into a new election with half of the people traumatized. The people that thought they had won and then found out that they didn't. That creates a lot of emotional issues. And the only difference between a robot, well, I'm not going to make that statement because with the AI, all of that gets thrown out the window. So when there is a trauma, you need to deprogram it. And then you come to the table fresh. Your intentions can carry the day. But when you come to the table with trauma, your trauma will block your intentions. That's the whole thing with the mantras. Mantras are devices that liberate the mind, and the mind is what clutches uh, those traumatic events with the images and etc. So let's go ahead and do um, stability in the midst of chaos, prosperity in the midst of chaos. You can do it. So if things get really ugly, you can do it. What you can't do is not business as usual in terms of your mind. You can't spend all your day, even on X, seeing what all the news is and seeing all the bad news, okay, and then all the little puppy dogs, and expect that you're going to be able to keep focusing and vitalizing um, your intentions. It's not going to be able to happen. Okay, so let's go ahead and do. I'm carrying my dog because there was thunder and lightning, and my dog does not like that. So I'm going to put you down, okay, babes, so that I can draw this. Okay, and we're going to do the election one. No. And I do not know how to go back here. So Avi, to be able to correct. So if there's spelling errors, we're going to have to live with them. Okay, we're going to do, I'm going to do the subconscious. I'm going to do the subconscious Mantrista music. I don't know why I want that so much today. We're going to do 10 minutes. Okay? The mantras are repeated in silence. How do you feel? It's relaxing, isn't it? That music is very much for the subconscious. Um, just in case in our subconscious and in our consciousness, we're afraid that this election might get messed up also. So I'm not sure that anybody was satisfied with the results, including those that won. So we will be back tomorrow, and hopefully I won't be getting any phone calls. Not easy to get them to allow me to talk, okay? It's like living. I met a psychic once who said that my life was like living on the edge of a razor blade. And that is so true. I'm not the only one, but that is so true. Thank you for joining me, and we will see you tomorrow. And for those that speak Spanish, we will now at 8 have a chat and deal with the energetic issues of those three countries. And we will go back to that new fault line